Hey, 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 event professionals. It's Tay with BlaueXperiential Event Services. Welcome to Second Tuesday events for event professionals. This is an ongoing monthly series, and I just want to thank you for joining us today. We've been doing this for about 6 months, and we're slowly gaining traction. For those of you who don't know, I am the series producer and Blau Experiential Event Services is the sponsor. So if you don't know Blau Experiential, for event consulting, event management end to end, as well as small task execution. So if you need assistance in any of those areas, please don't hesitate to drop us a line, send us an email, or schedule a meeting. And I think you might be surprised at how affordable it can be. So today's topic, events cut diamonds, using data and criteria to evaluate, compare, and forecast great experiences. Let me just give you some background as to how I came here and why we're presenting this today. I have worked with many global companies that are highly matrix with multiple product lines, multiple sales regions, and every year as I worked with these global companies, we have to go to budgeting. And there are always competing priorities because we have South America competing with North America for the marketing dollars to go toward an event. You may have recruiting globally, and each of the regions are competing for new talent. You have product development, product innovation that are showcasing products for product development reasons. So the conundrum is that if you're a centralized service, as I have always worked at global companies, centralized marketing in my case, whereby we're supporting each of the regions and the events that they wish to produce in the following year. What I found was that I needed a tool to help us basically help others understand why their event may not have been chosen or budgeted for the following year, or why another event had been added in the next fiscal year that didn't appear before. So here, what we're talking about is the application. So it's, those centralized services may be in operations, marketing, or human resources, or product innovation, as I say. And again, it was always a matter of how to work with multiple stakeholders, multiple product marketing managers, multiple regions, so that they can understand where they fit into the big scheme of things. I'm going to go right into the report so that you can see what I'm talking about, and then I'll go and break it down and show you how this is built and the methodology behind it. So here we are on an Excel spreadsheet, and what we have are 4 fictitious events here in column A. And then across the top are criteria that we are using to evaluate each event. And let me just explain what the colors mean. This first set in the blue, light blue, are those events that must have the basics. They must have some level of these basic requirements in order to even be placed on this list. The yellow is for must-have criteria. So in other words, once the events have passed this basic level, they will then graduate into the must-have level. And for example, in this one, it's an opportunity to book meetings. So for our marketing events and sales events, if we did not have that opportunity to book meetings, then we wouldn't attend. And then finally, here in the green, we have the essential criteria. We listed that criteria that was important to sales and marketing, and that's how they arrived here. How the spreadsheet operates, and we've assigned a potential point value for each of these data items. And then once you have your events listed, then you would just go through and score them. So we have under the basics for a digital finance roundtable event, we said that it is the primary market, so it scored a value of 5 in this case. And this one targets personas in the sales region. It scored a value of 5. And the theme of the event in this case aligns with products or solutions. Here, it could have scored a point value of 3, or would score 5 if both. In this case, it scored 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you get the picture that each item has a potential point value that they can achieve. And we're sure to assign a value to the range. So for example, in the primary or secondary industry criteria column, we said that if it is a secondary market, it would score 3. If it was a primary market, it would score 5. And then we have the drop-down menu, which allows us to choose a 5 or a 3. And such is the case with each of the other criteria. And I will go into the criteria selection in just a moment as to how they were added and what the methodology behind that is. And then finally, once you've assigned a value to each of the items in the data set, you come out with a score. So in this case, we have 10, 65, 75, and 75. And then this one column, which is actually another webinar, it's the lead acquisition cost. So this would be used, for example, we have 2 events that are scoring the same at 75 points each. And perhaps the deciding factor could be the lead acquisition cost. So we may want to go to the less expensive event at $900, $901 for the lead acquisition cost. But who knows? These are only guidelines. There may be a reason that you would prefer the more expensive event, but that's for your organization and your executive leadership to decide. One final thing is that in this model, we have the basic category in this first item where the event achieved or offered each of these 4 basic criteria, but it scored 0 under this item where it said theme aligns with products or solution. And in this case, the theme did not align with the product or solution, so it scored 0. The track in this column did not align with the product or solution, so it scored 0. And in this application, if it does not score at least some value in each of the 4 criteria, it would not be allowed to move further into consideration. And therefore, we just left it alone. It did not score anything, so we left it at its original space of value, and it scored 10 points. Once everything has been scored, you do a data sort, and you can see in ascending chronological order that they scored 10, 65, 75, 75, again, chronologically. So this is the type of tool that I have used and that it has developed over the years to help them understand where their event falls in the context of all the other ones globally and company-wide. I hope that makes sense. So here we go into the deeper and the methodology. So first of all, as I said, why? This is a justification report, and the use for a justification report is you have competing priorities. You need a tool to help you prioritize. A large volume of events are being considered, so you would have criteria that will help you filter and vet each event. We already said that helps you prioritize. A methodology for vetting events. It really is just like what criteria are you going to use? And this tool helps you think that through. And again, helps stakeholders with competing priorities from other departments see where their event falls within the grand scheme of things. Now, the application, this one works for third-party events, that is those conferences and trade shows, and those events that are used for lead development. Most organizations may have proprietary corporate events, like a users conference, or may produce an event for that reason. But those would be proprietary events whereby you would probably, or I would recommend using other methods of measurements. You may have a satisfaction survey that you would provide to the attendees as well as to your stakeholders to answer at the end of the event, and you would use that for measurement. Moving on. So when to use it is when you're creating a budget and you're just trying to evaluate multiple items that have similar criteria. And usually this application be used when you don't have performance data because you haven't attended it, for example, or you haven't sponsored it yet. And again, these are the reasons why you would use it. Again, for those that have multiple stakeholders with competing priorities. So basically what we're looking at is a weighted report. And there are different types of weighted reports. We have a weighted average report, and there's a simple average report. So on this spectrum, the weighted average and the simple average reports are for those where you already have results. So that means post-event. So you've already attended an event, and each event has scored something. Then you would use a weighted average or a simple average, depending on your needs. And in certain professions, a weighted average is used very frequently, like in the stock brokerage market, when they're trying to evaluate a portfolio of products for one of their clients. They need to have criteria and a point system to evaluate each of the products within a portfolio. But in our case here, we just have a simple weighted total. And basically what it is, I'll go back to the report, is each data criteria or each criteria within this data set has a potential point value or a high point value that they can achieve. Now, this is for you to decide what those points will be based on their importance. And we will move on here. As I say, it's what's important to you. The 4 elements within this report in terms of criteria is basic criteria. These are must-have items that if they don't have them or they aren't scoring within each of those areas, that they could not be even placed on the roster for consideration. We have essential items. These are must-have items that once they've been placed on the report, it's another level of qualification that if they have it, great, they can move on. If they don't have it, then they would stop in the consideration process. And then there's the key criteria, those that they can make or break the success of an event. They're not must-haves, but they may be offered by your event producer or your show management. And those are actually scored at a higher value level. And then finally, there's one item, which is the discretionary criteria that any executive or anybody within the team who has a reason why you need to go to this event or sponsor this event, even though it may be a low score. Who knows? You may have a event that is scoring low, but is being produced by a strategic client. And you just, in order for you to achieve a sale of that client, you want to attend or sponsor that event, for example. When you assign values, again, that's really up to you. But I use the rule of thumb in 5s and 15s and 20s that in the basic criteria, you have a scale of 0 to 5 with a choice of 0 points, 3 points, 5 points, and so on and so forth with these other criteria of the must-have, the essential, and the added value. Then we have another level of reporting, as I say, which I have here on the sheet. It's the lead acquisition cost. Again, let's say you have two events that are scoring the same, and you need something to judge why it may be the most important event. And you might choose that the lead acquisition cost, what you spend, is going to be the deciding factor. For example, there's a lead acquisition cost. The difference between cost per lead is that you're looking at the total audience and you're looking at the leads. Let's say there was 100 attendees, and you've estimated that there will be, let's say, 20 potential leads that you could outreach to. So that's, you want to find out what is the cost per lead. Then of that group subdivided, you would want to know what the lead acquisition cost is. So after you've acquired the lead, let's say you've had 5 leads of that group of 20, you would run a metric or a formula to determine the cost for each of those 5 leads you acquired at the event. Other measurements that you may consider are cost per engagement, so how many interactions that are. Again, this is something that you would use and you would decide. If you would like a copy of the template, I'm happy to send this to you. Just send me an email or a note, and I'll be happy to send it out. Just let me know that you attended this webinar and that you're interested in receiving this. Okay, so let's wrap up. Finally, don't forget, again, thank you for attending this session. I hope you learned something. I will follow it up with another session that adds on the acquisition costs to help you go to another level. So next episode, episode 8, we're continuing the 3-part series. We will be on part 2 of supplier insights into creating immersive experiences. Then please don't forget to join our LinkedIn group called Second Tuesday Events for Event Professionals. All you need to do is do a search for a group. Then once you call it up, there'll be a button for you to request to join, and just do that, and we'll make sure that you are added to the group. And then finally, we offer a complimentary event marketing evaluation. There is a button on the website homepage. Click that. You can book a time right into our calendars. Happy to help. So with that, thank you so very much for attending. See you again. Take care. Bye-bye.